Hey, I'm Sam and I Do Design. In the video today, I am live on Instagram, taking your questions, and we are rendering the Apple Watch. Okay, so we're going to render this Apple Watch. And like I said, this is something that I did weeks ago. I've already rendered this watch, which is a little bit frustrating because I lost the footage, but that's fine. We'll do it again. So what I always do is start with an outline, and I haven't warmed up today, guys. Ooh, I know what I can do. Yes. Okay, we're professionals. I've got a camera on me, I've got Instagram Live going, iPad screen recording. So I'm going to go through and basically just draw the outline again on a separate layer. And I'm going to try and get this done within 1 hour because Instagram Live is 1 hour and we're already about 10 minutes in. And it's really annoying that I can't see you guys on my screen. Okay, you know what? It's not meant to be. Let's move on. How you guys doing? You got questions for me? I'm going to keep checking questions every now and again, but I'm going to press on with the film. We're already behind schedule. Okay. So my process is I haven't warmed up either. So my process is outlining the Apple Watch with this thick pen, which is too thick. And then what that's going to do is let me fill this whole space in with a sharp edge at the edge. And we're going to use this as a background for the Apple Watch. And I'm using a sort of mid-grey here because I know that the Apple Watch is going to be grey at the end. Okay, so then I've just used the fill tool here, and that's going to let me fill in the whole thing. And then I've got this on a separate layer to the sketch. I've got this here as well. So I'm going to add in a new layer. This one's irrelevant. We don't need anything on there. So add in a new layer, and I can start to add in some shadows. So basically, I know that inside the band is going to be slightly darker, underneath the band is going to be slightly darker, and I can put those in now and then erase it away from the edge because I always use a larger brush than need be, and that's going to let me get a nice sort of gradient in here. And I'm using a black, sort of a 90% grey, just to put it in here. Doesn't have to be exactly smooth. That's going to give it that sketchy look. And I'm going to come back in and erase. So a lot of people ask me why I don't use layer masks. And sometimes I do, and if I'm in Procreate, I use the alpha lock in 4.1. Sketchbook on the iPad doesn't really have anything like that, so I steer clear of trying to think like that, and I just do it all naturally and all, erasing like this, which I think is fine. And it's really satisfying as well. Just here to have some fun, and if I want to spend more time erasing, it's satisfying, get it all gone, then that's fine. If I'm doing a sketch for a client, then I'll do things a lot quicker. But apart from Instagram Live, there's no real time pressures. So I'm just erasing this at the moment. And also, I move the page a lot to get a good arc. I know people say sketch with your arm, but the iPad's quite small, so I just tend to do a bit of both. A little bit of arm movement, but mainly moving the page, which is fine. So I'm going to come in here, just to erase this last bit. Okay. So already we're starting to get some shape into the Apple Watch here. Can you guys see? I'm just going to go through some comments real quick. Top view for the camera. I've tried that in the past, guys. You've complained about... Let's move it in. Let's bring it in. So if I put the iPad right down here, is that better for everyone? I don't want it to get in the way of the comments, that's all. Yeah? Whatever you want, guys. I'm here for you. Hey, everyone joining. Yeah, more YouTube videos coming. This is for YouTube. Ta-da! Recording for YouTube. There's a camera just off camera. And that's going to be the camera that's going on YouTube. And I'm screen recording as well. Okay, no more questions that I can see. So I go, well, actually, right now, I put down, Sal Kush has asked about grayscale over color when I'm putting in the images, and normally I do go for whatever color the base color is, and then I can add blacks and whites with multiply or lighten on layers on top of that for highlights and shadows. This Apple Watch in particular is actually a gray, is going to be a gray watch, sort of a silver watch. So that's why I'm putting in the highlights and shadows like this. Anyway, I'm really far behind schedule. What time did we go live? About 15 minutes ago. 15 minutes and I've done one piece of rendering. Okay, so on a new layer, I'm gonna come in. I know that this bit's gonna be dark as well because it's underneath the watch. So you need to think about where your lights and shadows are coming in. So I know that that's gonna be dark down there. In here, erase it. So I think what's gonna be interesting is I've already rendered this before. I rendered this last week, but I lost the footage. And I'm rendering it rushed live, so I'm a little bit nervous, not gonna lie. And I think it'll be interesting to see the difference between the two. To see where I cut corners or where I did things a little bit differently. Like already now the outside of this band is looking a little bit, I know that in here, okay, this is the first time I'm cheating. Everyone knows I love to cheat. So let's bring in the ellipse tool. So because I'm in Sketchbook Pro, I've got this ellipse tool here, and if I want to add in some definition into the band down here, I can do that like that. And that's helped with sort of defining the two sections of the band. I know that this area over here, from rendering it last time, is a little bit darker. I can put that in. Okay. And then these bits are also really dark down here. I'm using the Procreate gestures. Oh no. Whichever app I've been using most recently, I tend to start to use the gestures. Sketchbook doesn't really have that many gestures, but when I've been in the Procreate app, which I have been a lot recently for their different tools, I start to use the gestures in here as well. So down here, this is going to get darker because that's right underneath. Okay, and then let's figure this out. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Down here as well, just to give it a little bit more shape, I'm going to put in the ellipse tool, line it up. No, that's not right. Just a little bit of shape there. Blend it in down here too. Different pen. Okay, we're starting to get the band in there, guys. What do you think? It's getting there, right? Let's sort out the top here. And just a little bit. Just to give it some definition. Haven't seen any hand sketches by me. I don't sketch by hand a lot anymore. I just enjoy, I do. I've got a video on YouTube, actually, which is what this is for, about why designers don't need sketching to be good designers. So I don't sketch a lot on paper anymore. I just do it. All the sketches I do are for my own enjoyment, which means I'm just going to use the things that I enjoy the most, right? So I enjoy the iPad because if I wanted to do something like this with pen and paper, it's going to take A, a lot longer, B, a lot more equipment. So I just like to do it on here. I just prefer it. So the brushes that I use, that's a really good point. The brushes that I've got mainly for large shadows is the broad tip marker. That's what I've been using for the larger shadows in here. What else? I use the medium tip marker for the smaller ones, like the shadows in between the bands. And then for some harder lines, I use the paint tapered brush. They're mostly from the designer set in Sketchbook. How's this? Is this better? Can you see if I do this? So the program is called Sketchbook Pro. That's what I'm in at the moment. And I also use Procreate as well, depending on which features I need. Do I make my own brushes and textures? No, I tend to just use the ones from, just the ones in the app themselves. Sometimes I edit them so I can go in and sort of look at pressures and stuff like that. But I always tend to go back, and it just depends on what sort of thing I'm using at the time. But yeah, I don't make my own brushes because I make use of the ones that I already have. Okay. So now I'm going to start to go in and add some shading to the watch face. I know that that's there. Get the eraser in. New layer. Everything that I do is going to be on a new layer just so I can always go back later on if I need to. Oof. I feel like right in the screen where I can see it, there's I think this highlight is right here for me, so I'm having to really crane my neck to see this. How does this work for you guys? Is that better? Do I use reference images when I'm rendering or sketching? Absolutely. There is no shame in that, guys. People are taught in design school that you need to be great freehand sketchers, and yes, that's going to help, but using in the real world, getting things done as quick as possible is really the key thing. You have to get things done quick. Clients are paying you, and you want to get as much done in a small amount of time as possible. So reference images are used all the time. especially in things like storyboards or people interacting with products. There's always some reference images going on. And when I draw products like this that already exist, absolutely, I use reference material. So I'm just adding in some, oh no, where did that spot come from? There. I know there's a highlight in here somewhere, so I've probably gone too dark. I'm going to just pull that back a little bit, and then right in here with a smaller brush, straight in there. That's probably more like it, right? Also, this is going to be a Series 3 watch, so I'm going to throw on a red on the edge. And I'm not going to go full red. Nothing is super saturated in real life. So when I start to add color in like this, it's never super red, right? It's always kind of just bring it back just a little bit, add some darkness in there as well. And it's just going to set it into the page a lot more naturally than a complete red itself. Because you can see here, I've just put it on now and it looks super bright, right? So imagine how bright it would have been if it was full red. Hey guys, how you doing? Absolutely, I'm excited for the Apple. I'm definitely excited for the new Apple Watch, which is why I need to render this today, because the Apple Watch is coming out in like 2 days. So I need to be relevant. That's why I'm sketching these tech things, to be relevant, get people excited. People aren't interested in my design. People want to see tech. No, I want to see tech. I sketch tech because I like tech. So I'm just going to add in the screen now. And I'm using the ruler tool again so that I can just line it up with my guidelines. I need my watch with me so we can keep track of time. Okay, here's the thing, guys. I'm recording on my camera as well, and my camera can only record 29 minutes at a time. So in about 3 minutes' time, I need to go and just turn off the camera, turn it on again, and we'll get back into it. But I'm just gonna try and do this within that amount of time. I've never let the camera run over the 29 minutes. And I'm sure it will save the footage that's already on there, but I just don't want to risk it. I've already rendered this Apple Watch twice. This is the second time. And I don't want to lose the footage. So bear with me, guys, while I just turn off the camera, turn it back on again, and we'll get going again. Okay, no, actually, 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes, and then I'll turn off the camera. .3D CAD software I use is not Sketchbook. Bleh. I use SolidWorks. That's the one. I use SolidWorks, and I use Keyshot to render. How long did it take you to become a pro at digital sketching and rendering? Am I a pro? I've been sketching on the iPad now for about 2 years. Ever since the Pro came out. When the Pro came out, I was working in the Apple Store, or an Apple Premium reseller, nearly an Apple Store, and I was using the Pro every day, and it convinced me to buy one because I could use it every day, and I really enjoyed using it. So that's what made me buy my first one, which was the 9.7-inch iPad Pro. And I always said it'd be great if there was a larger screen. The 12.9 is a bit too big for me, so as soon as I bought the 10.5-inch out, that was absolutely perfect. So I went straight for that one, and that's this one here. So about 2 years I've been sketching on the iPad. Just gonna add in some highlights. Again, you know the story by now, guys. It's all on a new layer. Adding this in. So the tools I use to get a crisp sketch after a rough sketch is I always go into the design pencil brush. And it just depends on how thick or thin I've set that brush to get a thin line or just a rough, thick line. So that's exactly what I use for the underlay on this sketch as well. Do a traditional drawing challenge. Absolutely. I would be so rusty. If I picked up a pen and paper right now, I would not be able to sketch for you guys. I'd be an absolute mess, which would be really fun to watch. So maybe that's my next YouTube video. I had an idea actually where I invited someone who sketched physically normally with pen and paper to do an iPad sketch, whereas I do a pen and paper sketch, and we sort of swap roles and we see who can be better at the other thing, even though we're not good at either thing. Does that make sense? I think that would make a fun YouTube video to see the differences between the two. All right, I'm just going to quickly come in here. Oh, that's the wrong brush. I'm going to fade it in a little bit there, and up here. Oh. That's its own part, but actually, kind of come around like this. Maybe not like that. Okay. Just reading some comments, guys. Yes, so rough sketch to my final sketch. There's loads of them on YouTube. You can go on and I do the weekly design challenge, and on there, on the weekly design challenge posts, I always take it from a rough sketch, a blank page, and move it through to a render at the end. So you can go check out my YouTube for videos like that. How often do I sketch at work? It's normally more concept designs, so like really rough sketches. When I'm rendering like this is when we've got the idea pretty nailed and we know sort of what we're doing. We take this to the client to go through the final design. But sketching like this for concepts never really happens. So yeah, quite often, but not as often as Instagram. Instagram, I'm more active on there. I do a lot of other things at work, like CAD modeling, data, stuff like that. So I do a lot of that at work, but that's not as exciting for Instagram when I'm looking at DWGs and the small details like that. Okay, this time I have to go and stop the camera and re-record so we can do it for the full hour. Okay. This is stressful, guys. I've got a lot going on. Let's just double check the iPad recording. Oh no, the iPad stopped recording. Why? Okay, all look at this. This is what happened last time. You're all looking at this, right? That's recording, yeah? And then we'll see if I can keep it recording later. But it stops. So I'm hoping that this footage of the Instagram story I can use in the YouTube story. Because otherwise that's the only thing recording this screen. So here we go. Okay, so I think I'm ready to start adding in some textures right now. So I'm going to go in a few more layers, and I'm going to get a small brush. Small brush. Going to go back in, add some highlights in. And it's just a rough idea of some highlights. It's not really finished ones. Okay, the next trick I'm going to do for my next trick is I'm going to go here. And we're going to go to the brushes panel and find this one, I think. Yeah, let's try that one. Yeah. So for the texture of the band, what I'm going to do is use a brush tool with a texture built in. I'm going to just draw over the whole thing, and then we can erase away what we don't need after that. Slightly bigger, and then I'm going to bring that down just a little bit. And then with the eraser tool, just come back in and erase where we don't need it. Yeah, about there. Yes, we are still recording. I always get freaked out, guys. Hey, platform. Okay. Let's carry on. And then it's not going to be visible in the shadows as much. So let's change the blend mode to something glow, maybe, but it's not going to be as visible on the outside here, or like at least like this. Okay, now we're really going to start to push and pull the highlights. Most of the details are in there. Let's start adding in some fine details with a white, yeah, sure. Just want to give it some pop highlights in here. Okay, up here as well. Maybe it's a bit much, but we'll put in a little bit more in there. I'm just going to start getting real sketchy with it now, guys, just to try and get this done a lot quicker. What else? More questions, guys? I haven't really used the Microsoft stuff. I've always used iPad just because I started selling them in store. This is a good question. So do I find it more difficult to do a design? Do I find it more difficult to do a sketch of an idea in my head versus an idea that already exists out there of an existing product? And I think they serve two different things. So this one, for example, I can go into much more detail because we all know what it looks like, right? So I can go into more detail and the details are there, so I can replicate that. When I'm doing sketches of my own ideas, sketches are never there to resolve all the ideas, right? They're never there to solve all of the issues. They're just there to get an idea across really quick. So, for example, if I'm doing a new concept, the sketch is going to be the idea itself of the concept. It's not going to be the final thing for manufacture. It never is. So it's great because I can have more freedom then to just go a little bit more crazy. Some people don't understand that. So when I do a post and it's a little bit more out there, or there's a blaring issue with manufacturing, it's because I wasn't thinking about that when I was sketching it. I was just having some fun with it. So both things sort of have their drawbacks. If you're doing something that exists, you have to do it pretty accurately because people know what it looks like. But if it's in your head and you're coming up with a new idea, sure, you can have more fun with it because people aren't going to know the ins and outs of the tooling or the molding of the manufacturing. So it's just about getting ideas across quicker, which I quite like. Okay, let's get in some more highlights in here. Nope, too big. How are we doing for time, guys? We've got about 45 minutes left. We're looking fine. How do you think it's going? Can you see okay in here? Do I ever have problems with lack of inspiration? A lot of the time. I do a lot of the time, and it does get tiresome when things aren't going right. Like, for example, I've said, I've sketched this product. I've sketched this Apple Watch 3 or 4 times, well, 2 or 3 times now because I lost the footage. Let's just double check. Yeah, it's still going. And picking yourself back up again is difficult to do. But things that keep me inspired, always checking on news websites, always checking on design news, things like Design, things like It's Nice That, or things like stuff.tv, always inspiring stuff on there. Also, the weekly design challenge, which I do on YouTube as well. Having something weekly that's just a simple idea that makes you sketch something a little bit more crazy. It takes off the sort of blank page element of like, oh, I don't know what to sketch. So the weekly design challenge is amazing for that type of thing. And that's what I do to keep inspired. Okay, how are we looking, guys? What do you think? I'm just going to darken this a little bit. This is really rough rendering compared to the sketch that I've already done, the rendering that I've already done. In fact, I can show you. Gallery, save, make sure it saves. See, I've already done it. Okay, it's interesting. It's sort of nearly there. Okay, well, we can go back in and make some real quick changes. This was a little bit darker in here, so let's just go in real quick and really, oh, that's the wrong. Where am I? Here. Oh, I see what's happening. Okay. Okay, next is some pop highlights. What I might have to do, actually, guys, is I've got the footage, I've got the first half of the footage from the last Apple Watch, and so far, this one's still recording. So let's leave it a little bit, and I might have to just blend the two together. But you guys understand, right? You know how it works. Hey, Tom, how you doing? Any more questions, guys? I've got about 15 more minutes to go. I've just got to add in some pop highlights. What do you guys think about these pop highlights? I really like how cartoony it makes it look, but some people don't like it. But you know what? It's my sketch. It's my sketch, and I'll do what I want. I don't know, something like this. This is the mesh. What do they call it? The Milanese loop. The dark one. So this stage now is just all about going in and looking for some extra little details that I can put in. Like down here, it's not very defined. What else? Maybe there's some more highlights up here. Let's pick this layer, some highlights. Yeah, maybe not, but we can. something like that maybe. Okay, now, by this point, what I want to do is bring in the screen. When I'm doing something like this that already exists and it's got a user interface, if it already exists, amazing. If not, I would mock it up in Photoshop, or Illustrator would be more like it. And then I could put it in as a PNG, because sketching an interface with the Apple Pencil, it's going to look messy, right? So I'm going to, where am I? I'm going to go into add a, ooh, I might have to blur some of that out. There's some confidential stuff in there. Okay, so we've got the watch here, and already, you know, I'm not far off, right? I'm not far off at all. I'm just going to come in and erase all of this. All of the photograph of the watch that I just could have used, but I decided to render it instead. I just erase this here. Okay. Yeah, I think that's most of it. What I want to do is get a soft edge on this watch face so it'll blend in more with... Oop. I'm just going to put that in there like that. I think something like that. And then I can come back in here and sort of blend that in. And then on top of here, I can come in and do some blending with maybe that. That's just going to blend it in. Okay. So, hey, yeah, so I also use, so this is Sketchbook Pro. I also use Procreate a lot for their different features as well. Am I looking forward to any design competitions? If you guys look on my story right now, you can see that the Meaning Centered Design Awards have just extended their application process. So you can go on there to enter your competitions, enter your designs, guys. It's completely free, so go and do it. Meaning Centered Design Awards. Yes, I'm going to stop this, bank it. Let's hope that's saved. You guys saw that, right? You saw that I stopped the recording, so that's banked. We did it. We made it. Oh, let's hope that it's gone in here. Yes. Okay, and we're off again. Okay. So we're pretty much there as far as this quick rendering has gone. This has been about 45 minutes, right? So we're pretty much there. What I'm going to do is add in a drop shadow. Ooh. Using the ellipse tool here. Oh no, where is that layer? There. This is why you should always name your layers if you're using Photoshop. Just going to erase that. And I'm going to go back through and just add some more shadows in here where I think needs it, just to give it a boost. That's going to look really messy, but then I'm going to come in and erase. Actually, make that even darker. Okay. I think we're pretty much there, guys. What do you think? for a 45-minute render. Yeah. Any questions about this, guys? So I've been recording this whole thing for YouTube. And if you guys want to shout out on YouTube, now's the time to ask some questions. I should bank that one as well. Okay, so between the 2 times that I've sketched this, let's see them side by side. Between the 2 times that I've sketched this and rendered it, I think we're going to have enough footage. There you go, side by side. I think we're going to have enough footage to make a YouTube video, finally. That was a few weeks ago. And this was today. Who was the winner of the giveaway? We did that at the start. I'm going to add to my story. I'm going to add to my story afterwards. But the winner of the giveaway, someone called Jacob Hockey. So I don't know if they're watching. Okay, guys, so for people asking for a recap, all of this is going to be on YouTube. So you can go through after that and watch it on YouTube. The whole process is going to be on there. I'm going to try and do an hour video, make it into an hour video. That'd be pretty cool, I think. So the program used was Sketchbook Pro. I also use Procreate. If you want to see, and the screen protector is a cheap one that I find on Amazon. All of my equipment that I use, including the screen protector and all the apps and everything like that as well, is all available on my website if you go over there, which is samdoes.design, which I think is really clever. So you can go out to my website and double check all of the stuff that I use on there. And if you want to see a summary of this video, you can go and check out my YouTube channel, which is, again, Sam Does Design. Any more questions, guys? Oh, I forgot to mention, today is Sam Does Design's birthday. So 2 years ago was the first time that I posted as Sam Does Design. Before then, I was something like SG Designs or SG or Sam Gwilt Designs or something, but I can't remember. But I wanted people to be able to search me, and my second name is Gwilt, which isn't really a common name. So no one really knows what a Gwilt is. So I did Sam Does Design, because I do. I thought it was pretty funny. I do design. Thank you very much. Happy birthday. Thank you. What does Sketchbook have and Procreate haven't? That's really interesting. So Sketchbook has these tools, the ellipse guide and the ruler guide. So sure, Procreate has the quick line. In 4.1, it doesn't have any sort of ellipse guide and stuff like that. So that's why I use Sketchbook a lot, to use their ellipse guide, which for rendering stuff like this, the Apple Watch is really handy. Thank you for the happy birthday messages. 2 years ago. That's crazy. So we've got about 10 minutes more, guys. What do you want to talk about? Let's deformalize this. I'm going to pop you out of the holder. Turn you around to face me. Yes, so I'm going to answer the question in a minute. Ooh, I don't want to drop my phone. Oh, there we go. So the difference between Procreate and Sketchbook Pro. So I use Procreate for the ellipse tool, and I use Procreate for the gestures and for the textures and for the brushes and stuff like that. So yeah, I really hop between the two depending on what sort of thing I need from both of them. Procreate's in-app screen recording as well is also better because it will record the canvas, and Sketchbook records the screen. So no matter how much you zoom in and zoom out in Procreate, it just records the canvas, so it's nice and smooth. I have a habit of zooming in way too much and rotating and getting everything to the right angle to draw it. So it's pretty bad for time lapses in Sketchbook, so that's why I use Procreate a lot. Let's just scroll up here to see if I missed any. How do you transition from 2D to 3D? So after I've got sketches like this, I would tend to, well, in an ideal world, then I'd take it into some real quick and dirty models. So by that I mean paper scrunched up in the right sort of shape, foam. Who's seen blue foam dust on Instagram? That's the type of thing that I'd be using to carve it out real quick to try and get an idea of shape. Then after that, once you sort of looked at things like that and held it and interacted with it in the real world, it's very different than 2D. Then you can take it into 3D CAD, and I use SolidWorks for that. And then after that, I will render it in KeyShot. So there's sort of a whole linear process. It's not really linear because you're always going back and forth and sketching more and modeling more and everything. Your sketch rocks. Thank you very much. Has everyone seen the sketch? Hey guys, this was fun, right? I haven't done a live sketching session in ages. Who wants more live sketching sessions? Maybe some more where I sketch whatever you tell me to. I've done a few of those in the past. Hey, Farrington Arnas, how you doing? How did you get to your style? By trying to sketch as fast as possible. I'm trying to cheat as fast as possible. I always wanted to go for, when I first started sketching on the iPad, I went for ultra-realistic, or I tried to go for ultra-realistic sketches, which I found was easier to do because I was using reference material and I could just copy like for like, image on the screen, iPad, looking back and forth. Here's a pixel, adding in a little bit more. So that was easy for me to do. The tricky bit after that was to then keep that element that I enjoy so much of like representing real life, but making it more sketchy. And I keep going back and forth between slightly more realistic and slightly more sketchy. So I think I'm still finding my style. KeyShot is really expensive. And that's the issue. I always had, my university had KeyShot, and now that I'm here at Precipice, they have KeyShot, so I don't pay for it. So I feel for everyone out there that doesn't have chance. So when I do 3D prints, for example, I designed the cushion chair a few months ago maybe, and I send that off to a 3D printing company and they send back the 3D files. I don't have a 3D printer. I don't know a lot about 3D printing. I should, because it's the future. What iPad do you recommend to start sketching? I would recommend the cheapest one. There's no point going out there and spending money on the Pro when you can get the same thing. So the new 2018 iPad, just the iPad, is amazing at sketching. I used that in store, went into store the other day, used that, and it's great. It's not quite there. It's not the same as the Pro, but for half the price, what are you going to do? It's perfect. Perfect to start sketching. Would you consider a tutorial on sketching lots of different materials, cubes, etc. on YouTube? Yes. Any ideas for content, welcome. I'm new to YouTube. You guys can go and check me out over on Sam Does Design at YouTube. I have no idea what I'm doing. YouTube's really hard. On Instagram, we just post an image and it's easy. YouTube, you have to make videos. This is going on YouTube, by the way. We're recording this for YouTube. Besides the iPad as a design tool, can it replace a laptop for daily usage? It depends what you're going to use it for. Can it do SolidWorks and can it do Keyshot? No. Can it do sketching? Can it do things like that? Yes. Can it do presentations? Can it do icon design? Or, you know, the Illustrator app does vector images, so that's great, vector format. So it really depends on what you're going to use it for. But I have a laptop and an iPad, so I can't really say it can. I think we're about 3 minutes away from ending. I think I started at 1855, I think. What does a vignette? Okay, we've got 2 minutes left. What does a vignette do to a design? It grounds it, it gives it a background, it stops it from floating in the middle of space if you've got a white background. So yeah, it just really holds the sketch together, which is what I use it a lot for. Could you make videos of marker renderings? I'd like to collaborate with people who can do marker renderings. I can't. I use the iPad because I enjoy doing the iPad and I haven't sketched with markers for years. So I'd be really rusty. If anyone wants to do a collaboration with me on marker renderings, I've just done one with, I can never pronounce the name. Berinovsky, I don't know. If you're watching, hey, sketch is amazing, but go check them out. How often do you analog sketch your work? I do thumbnail post-it note sketches all the time at work. They'd never see the light of day, they're so ugly, but it's just to talk to the other designers and say, is this what you mean? Is this what you mean? So yeah, I sketch with analog a lot, but not pretty ones. Okay, we've got 1 minute left, guys. Thank you so much for joining in. This is all going on YouTube. If you, what's the camera saying to me now? Okay. Okay. We reached the limit on the camera, so I hope that's saved. Go and check this out on YouTube because the whole recap will be on there. And any more questions, I'll do another question and answering session. I'll do another live session. These are really fun. So thanks for joining in, guys. 3-hour video, amazing. I want to do one of those again, but they take, surprisingly, 3 hours. Anyway, go check this out on YouTube. Thanks for joining in, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.